Hello and welcome to another episode. Today we have Yitzi Weiner, a renowned CEO and editor of Authority Magazine. Wonderful to have you here, Yitzi. How are you?
Doing wonderful, Julio. It's so nice to see you again.
Thank you for joining us. So, Yitzi, just for people to know who is Yitzi and how you started all this journey, can you tell us a bit about yourself and how all this started for you?
Sure. So again, before I start, I just want to thank you for the opportunity. It's so nice to speak to you and meet your audience. My name is Yitzi, and I always tell people, Yitzi comes from the Hebrew word, which means he will bring joy. And I always say that's my calling, in both sense of the word. I'm called Yitzi, but also I feel that's my mission. So I grew up in Los Angeles, California. I came to Baltimore. Originally went to I got trained as a rabbi. So I had what's called smicha ordination.
Sure.
And I was a teaching rabbi in the Boston area for almost 10 years. And then before I went to Boston, I was married. Eventually, my family grew. So as I say, being a rabbi is very rewarding, but not always financially rewarding. So as my family grew, I decided that I really needed another means of supporting my family. So I've been blessed that I've always been a writer. Ever since 10th grade, I had an English teacher who saw that I had some talent and he really encouraged me to write. So ever since 10th grade, I've always made that a focus.
Sure.
So the way it started was I was a writer for Huffington Post, and then when Arianna Huffington started her new platform called Thrive Global, she invited me to write there. And then at that point, Thrive Global was on the Medium platform, and Medium was relatively new, and Thrive Global was one of the first big publications to be on Medium. And that's when I became familiar with how Medium works, and I met some of the work at Medium, and that's with Arianna's blessing and with Thrive's blessing. I started Authority Magazine to be like an expanded version of Thrive Global, and basically we focused on in-depth interviews, and so that was almost 7 years ago, and today we have more than 150,000 in-depth interviews with prominent people, but also regular people, and the common denominator is how people use their platform to make a positive impact.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. And tell me, how this is? Was it something that you already know that you were going to do, or is just something that showed up according to the coincidence or the situation, or because you like to write? How do you have this vision of starting, such magazine?
Yeah. So I've been always writing at some capacity. The truth is, when I was in 5th grade, me and 3 friends, we were 4 friends, we decided we were going to start a magazine together. 5th grade. This is when computers were just coming out, and we called it Shmokey and Shmokey's Gazette. It was like a comedy magazine, and we wrote up. We had different games, different funny stories, and we went door to door selling our magazine, and so that kind of planted a seed. So the point is that I've always, at some level, I've always been writing. So yes, I guess it was just the next level of that development.
Amazing, really. You had amazing guests interviewed and in your magazine, like Shaquille O'Neal, Thomas Williams, and some more. So it's really outstanding how did it rise from what it started and what it is today. It's something really outstanding. So, what is your vision, for next steps within the magazine? Are you pretending to expand to other areas? Do you have, idea of putting it, in the next level, maybe more visual? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Sure, great question. So first of all, I want to double down on what we're doing. I want it to be like same way like everyone has a LinkedIn profile and they put their information. I want it to be almost like an obligation. If you have a business, you'll do an interview with Authority Magazine. It's just a way that you share your message with the world. We're very proud that with so many interviews, we're the largest collection of interviews, the largest interview publication, and we just want to continue with that. There's so much rich information that people have, and we're excited to be able to share these empowering stories. I think moving forward, one thing I've been working on a small level is I like to create like a network of publications that have similar goals. So this way Authority Magazine has more reach. It has like a network effect, and people pitch to Authority Magazine. They also know that they're pitching to a wider network of other similar-minded publications. And I think in a world where the whole media landscape is bifurcating and is shifting, and the ground is almost burning underneath them, I think smaller publications can have a great opportunity to come together to become a powerful voice.
Absolutely. Freedom of speech, as we used to say. People should share their voice and their ideas. Absolutely. What a great start. Yitzi, you had, as you just mentioned, a huge impact, regarding being a rabbi and also as a journalist. So, I mean, it's not really connected directly. How do you combine all these? Because I'm pretty sure you made significant impact in both sides. Can you just share some of the most impactful that you can remember from both sides, being a rabbi and being a journalist?
It's a great question. I think rather than a particular story doesn't come to mind at the moment, but I found that and this is maybe obvious, but it's sometimes the most obvious things people ignore. And generally speaking, people like doing the big things. You want to change the whole world. You want to save a life, but the small things people overlook. But I found that in my work as a rabbi and as a journalist, just listening to somebody without interrupting them, just listening and really understanding them, looking them in the eye and understanding them, and letting them talk, can make people feel so good. And a lot of times, people tell me after our interviews they feel like it was like a therapy session. Not just because I asked them questions, but because I listened empathetically, and I think that generally speaking, if each of us just make a bigger effort to be more present and truly listen and understand somebody, we'll create a healthier society. So I think that's a connection between the two, and it's a way that I feel like I made a big difference just on a face-to-face interpersonal level, that people feel good after talking to me.
Absolutely amazing. Do you recall some interviews that you've done that made impact on you, like their stories? Do you share that, some of it?
Sure. Not too long ago, I interviewed an actress who was deaf, and it was the first time that basically we had a sign language interpreter on the Zoom call with me, and she was a black woman who was deaf. So she went through a lot of difficulties and struggles. She really pushed through it. She was such a, again, I don't know her so well. I only know her from interview, but from what the energy that I got, she was such a positive, warm source of light. She just exuded happiness and confidence and positivity. And just hearing her story, and just watching her sign and the interpreter explain to me was just a fascinating experience. And yeah, it's inspired me how first of all how blessed I am that I'm just healthy, and the blessings that I have, and it was very inspiring that everyone has difficulties. Every one of us has some difficulty, but with that confidence and optimism, we're able to plow through.
Amazing, amazing. I mean, it's really unique story. I mean, it's something that you don't usually expect. So yeah, amazing. So tell us a bit about your team. I mean, how many are you inside Authority Magazine today, and what factors you're working on? And how do you actually being putting on outside the magazine for people to know about it?
Sure. We have about 30 writers.
Okay.
We have at this point we have 5 full-time employees, and we're always looking we're always looking to expand our repertoire of interview topics. Right now we have like 600 different topics, and the basic idea is that everyone should have some opportunity to be able to share their story, to do an interview with us. So you don't have to be famous. And so we have 5 main verticals: business, technology, social impact, wellness, and entertainment. But within those 5 verticals, there are hundreds of different topics, and we're always adding new topics.
Amazing, amazing. So, moving a bit on, you're also CEO of Thought Leader Incubator. So, tell us a bit about that and how this is all started too.
Sure. So people often ask, what is the business model of Authority Magazine? So we make money in 3 ways. Number one are the articles themselves. When people have a read, and read media means you stay on the page for more than a few seconds. You stay on the page for like a minute or two, whatever,
Sure.
and then so we get paid a little bit of money. Number two is that while nobody could pay to do an interview with us, everyone can apply. It's open to everyone. But once people do an interview, we sell as a way to support our programs. We have people can buy like an official framed monogram, like a framed picture of their interview. It's very nicely designed, and they can hang it in their office. That's another source of revenue. And finally, we have what's called, this is your question, what's called the Thought Leader Incubator. And the idea is that we work with leaders. Generally speaking, they're knowledge workers. They're in the service industries, and one way that they can stand out from their competitors is to be a thought leader, the expert, in their industry. So we work with service industry leaders to become we train them to become lifestyle journalists. And the basic idea is that being a journalist brings with it many perks. Three perks are what I call AAA, 3A. One is authority, then access, and amplification. So authority means if you have a certain topic that you write about, that you interview about. Let's say you do the interviews with leaders in AI, for example. You can become known as a leader or guru in AI. And then if you turn all those interviews into a book, you write the book on a certain subject, and then you can turn those interviews into a podcast. So that's authority. And access is usually it's hard to get a hold of busy leaders, but when you're a journalist, a lot of times they clear their schedule to be able to talk to you. So it gives you access to famous people. And this way you can make those connections, make those relationships. You have the halo effect. People see that you talk to a big leader, a big sports star. And also, eventually, you may find ways to collaborate together. And finally, amplification. The people that you talk to could have very large audiences. Authority Magazine itself has a very large audience. So this way, you're able to spread your message, far and wide by essentially borrowing the communities of the people that you talk to.
Amazing, amazing. And how does it? I mean, this program that you set up from being, the incubator. How did it start? I mean, did you have this vision within the magazine, or was something that you started before or after? How was it?
It's an excellent question. I wish I could say that like I had like a master plan when I first started. Really, I didn't. It was all like different tweaks, different iterations that I tweaked. Really, what the basic idea was, I was just I'm not a famous person, but I was a person in Baltimore that pretty obscure. But then I realized that I'm talking to all these famous people because I'm a journalist. I realized this is a lot of power here, and if it can be harnessed properly and it can be used in the right way, it could be maybe be turned into a business model. So that's really how
Sure.
it started.
Amazing, amazing. Not only you passed the message positively, you also made it as a business line, a streamline. It's wonderful how you set it up. So tell us a bit about more your daily base, on business. I mean, do you still commit as rabbi? Do you still do community work, and you combine it with the magazine? How is it? Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you. Yeah, so I still am rabbi, although I don't have a congregation full time, but I still give two classes a week, teaching Jewish students about how we can improve our character. Actually, I have a class on moral dilemmas, and that's one of my favorite topics. The idea when you have moral dilemma, when you have two values on either side, and how do you decide? Because truth is, all the time we make decisions, and without fully considering different consequences. So that's a class, a favorite topic of mine. That's a class that I teach. Um, so I still do teach, and yeah, I actually, even though I'm very busy with Authority magazine, I write I say the Jewish magazine, a print
Okay.
glossy color Jewish magazine called Table Talk. It's like a mini magazine. It comes out every week, and it's I'm busy with that. I actually write about I could tell a story about a moral dilemma. Then I write about another part is I write about the wonders of nature, different plants, different animals, different minerals, just appreciating the beauty and the majesty of nature. I share an inspirational story. It's all very nicely graphically designed. So that's another
An-
Jewish
uh,
aspect of
another
working
journey. Another journey.
journey. But yeah, that's how I still communicate with my Jewish community and still
Sure.
try to be uplifting in that respect.
Amazing, amazing. So, what is the outcome? I mean, how people come to you about your great work, about what you're doing to the community? How is the interaction that you usually do with people? And on this actual stage, how do you see, for example, certain subjects within society that are important for the community? How does it reinteract, to make it positive as it is, according to status, the status of society in these days? I mean, there's a lot of situations in the world. There's conflict, there's recession, so this affects people usually negatively. Of course, you're making a huge positive impact, but how you manage to co-op with it, all together, that's my question. Yeah.
Yeah, you're asking a very important question. So I'll tell you, my experience as a rabbi actually helped inform this. So when I was in Boston, I we wanted to create a learning center that would work for all the different denominations of Jewish people, the different denominations, and sometimes that's hard. So my premise was let's focus on commonality. We all have something in common, and let's focus on that. Of course, there are things that are differences, but in the bigger picture, there's much more in common. 99% in common than not in common. And so why choose the 1%? We could choose the 99%. So that's been my experience, and I apply that here with Authority magazine. The premise is, yeah, there's partisan news and that exists, and I feel that's actually unhealthy for society, sadly, because then we have two two versions of truth. What's true, what's not true. But aside from that, so I made a decision. Let's just focus on avoid anything that's political, avoid anything that's divisive. Just
Yeah.
focus on things that we all have in common. So that's really our operating principle. Just focus on the commonality that all people need. All people have certain needs. All people want to succeed in certain parts of their life, and let's avoid politics because yeah, politics has a role and has its place, but it doesn't need to be everywhere. And let's focus on what we have in common.
Absolutely, unity. So by this way, you create a subject that creates unity within people, because I mean, there's many things that connect. I mean, well, of course, information connects people, music connects people, art connects people. So I think this is very significant for the unity and to share the values within the community and society. So amazing work, really. So, Yitzi, how do you see, next steps within the magazine and all your work in the Incubator and as a rabbi? Um, do you have any pending, maneuvers on this journey, or how you plan to do, in the near future? What are you doing?
yeah, I think in the near future things will pretty much be the same. We'll continue to grow, continue to grow our reach. Long term, I would like to buckle down, and I have so many ideas for books that I want to write, and different messages that I want to be able to share. And right now, my bandwidth is full with my business. Eventually, I'd like to retire to be able to continue to write books and to and develop that. So I have so many ideas for books that I want to finish.
Tell us a bit about your books. I mean, have you wrote already some books? What are the upcoming books? Tell us a bit about that.
Sure. So I know this is a wide, universal, worldwide audience. So this book are really more. It's more a little more parochial, but it's a book on Jewish thought. It's about how all the premise is how if we can refine our character collectively, we can. Our character is like the operating system of our choices in our lives. So it's not so much about practices and about actions, but it's about character. So the character is like the operating system of everything. So character includes things like empathy, compassion, gratitude, justice, honesty. If we work on character traits, if we polish and refine our character traits, so ultimately we can refine and polish the whole world. Because really, all society's problems boil down to flaws in people's character. If we can be making movements and just working on improving our character, we can improve the world. So my book is about how really all the everything in Jewish thought and Jewish practice is all about refining character. Now, this is not an idea that's obvious, and people don't always talk about this, but that's really what it is. It's about ultimately the way we come close to God is by becoming more godlike, and the way we become more godlike is becoming more refined and polished, more to emulate God and God's compassion and God avoiding injustice and God's truth and God's wisdom, and so that's what my book's about improving our character.
Nice. Did you have more than one, or you have?
Yeah. So actually, this is actually a 4-part. It's a 4-part set. So I've already published. I published the first one, and then the first one's called On One Foot, and then the next 3 are pretty much developed, but they haven't been published yet. And I've also written books on this. It's a philosopher called the Safas Emes. I've written books on him, and let's see, there more. Ask them more.
Do you have a scheduled date when they're going to be launched yet, or you don't have it yet?
So right now, yes, I'm working. I'm working with one of my this Safas Emes project. I'm working with a very well known person who's an expert in Safas Emes to help me.
Okay.
Help me to release it and to get his endorsement, get his buy-in, and the other ones I'm already working with a publisher, but really I just need to have the space and the bandwidth to buckle down and finish it. So I don't have a precise date yet, but hopefully in the near future.
Wonderful, amazing. So, if you would found today, entrepreneurs out there that could be watching, this show, what would you say to inspire them in a way that there's so many situations in society, there's struggles. And of course, there's also fears because there's most of the times there's not enough information. I mean, there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there, but then they fail to commit the last step, which is committing. They have the idea, but then that last step doesn't come forward. What would you say, to people that are in these criteria? What would you say to them to impulse them and to, for them to take the next step?
It's a great question. So I think so many times we get paralyzed by the process, like thinking of the process, and then paralyzed by perfection. We become paralyzed by perfection. We think that we have to get it perfect, literally at the outset. But yeah, and this is obvious, but just like the Nike slogan, "Just do it." It means just start,
Yeah,
just get out, do something, start small, just do it, get it out, and you could always tweak and iterate later. And you don't need to be perfect at the outset. You could iterate. You'll iterate. You'll keep iterating, but just do it. I think that's advice for the second part of your question is when people get paralyzed.
sure, sure. Yeah, I mean, I totally resonate with you. And people should not have fear of committing the next step. I mean, nothing is perfect in this world. People need to understand this. I mean, I never knew a project that came out perfect on the first try. I don't think it's even possible to do that. So, I mean, realistically. So, what I usually say is, what you couldn't do in the first run, make it as experience. So this way, you know that was not the right path to get where you wanted to, but take it as an experience, not as a failure. Because people need to understand that. I mean, usually it's very hard for things to come out, first time. I mean, and it's okay, but you need to be relaxed and comfortable with the situation, knowing that, okay, so I did this, I know that I didn't get there, so I need to get to the other track and follow that path and the other path until you get there. But don't give up. I mean, perseverance is very important. Just because you didn't arrive on the first step, I mean, don't get on deception, because life and entrepreneurship, and you can confirm this, it's all about this, you know. We have the ideas, we launch them, we push them. It takes sometimes 500 times to get there, but we get there. Why? Because the people who get there because they don't give up. You should never give up. Be perseverant with the idea until you put it out on public. I mean, that's how I always would say. Always take as experience. That is very, very important, even for your life career, for your better self, rebuilding yourself even better because you are creating experience within what you know already. So, I mean, most of the things is very beautiful, as we usually say. That okay, you got a base, you got a educational base, you read it on books, but it's not enough. You need to pass it through there to understand what does it feel and how does it feel like and what is the actual experience, because from person to person it's different things. But the root, it's the same for any sector. You can be an entrepreneur in journalism, you can be on TV, in media, in building infrastructure, energy. In the end, the base itself, it's all the same, right? So, and this is what I would say, as you just said. I mean, just kick it, push it forward, and don't give up, and always be there, pushing it. So, Yitzi, how do you see yourself within all this, within the next 5, 10 years? Let's just say, how do you see all this going?
Yeah, just to add to what you're saying,
Yeah,
and I think that'll answer this question. There's another good word. People often use the word resilience, and that's a very important word. There's another word which I think maybe even captures it better, and that's be relentless. Be relentless. Like resilience, the word resilient comes from, I just looked it up, comes from the word which means to jump, to jump
yeah,
out of the way, to be
yeah,
agile,
yeah,
so that's more of a reactive term. I could pivot to difficulties, but but more than being reactive, we have to be proactive. And being relentless means to keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. And I think that's another good word we should use. This is that you're working hard doesn't just mean being working hard. To work hard at something doesn't just mean doing back-breaking work. It means never keeping trying different angles,
yeah.
being relentless.
Uh,
So
just,
that's
just to do a remark on that, keep on trying, but always be focused that don't keep on trying the same thing. I always use this, I always tell people, remember Einstein theory. Don't repeat, what you're doing expecting a different result. So if you keep on doing it, the same thing, despite that you've been persevering, you need to understand that you already know that result it does not work. So you need to continue, but different result, so in different path. So this is also very important because I had real experiences with customers to make transformations because they were continuously doing the same, expecting a different result. It doesn't work that way. It's like getting on the highway. If you go on the highway and if you go on the certain direction for a certain city, it won't change. I mean, you're still going there. I mean, you're not gonna go to any other city. It goes there. So, I mean, in life and building projects is the same thing, and it's much more compelling actually because this sometimes it's very complex because we create an idea and then suddenly in the middle of idea we had another idea, so it's even better. And then and there's so many things that were created like this. I mean, you can have examples, for example, Netflix. You have Amazon as well, whatever. So in the end, it's a matter of point of start. You have to set up a point of start to start something. Just the idea itself is not good enough. I mean, you have the idea, but you need to let's set a point of start and put yourself together and commit. That's the most important part. Because some people say, no, I have the idea. I mean, I have a lot of people that I'm mentoring because they have the ideas, but then the last impulse, and I always have the same question. So, what stops you, right? What stops you? You have the idea. What is stopping you? So, what is stopping people is that, well, the market is very competitive. Yeah. But if you create a differentiality, you push yourself and you need to commit. I mean, it's not, I mean, things do not go to you. You need to do them and search for them and push them. I mean, they don't do it by themselves. And you shouldn't expect for someone to do it for you. So you need to do it, you need to commit, and you need to continue your idea that you started and push it forward. I mean, that's the way it works. The main subject, I think, is that people are see, everything's swifting around in the market. Everything is, interconnected. What happens in one continent has effect on the other, and all this uncertainty creates uncertainty in people too. But I mean, this is where it makes the difference. Of course, I mean, it's harsh to say. I mean, not everyone can be entrepreneur. I mean, it's clear. I mean, the ones that resist is the ones that really are willing to do whatever it takes. And this is what people need to understand. It's not a world of roses. It's not perfect. And it's about most of the time sacrifice. And you can confirm this yourself. I mean, building projects and ideas and putting back in reality, it commits to sacrifice. It commits to a lot of things that sometimes you made it forward. I'm speaking also from myself. I mean, sometimes I commit days of office of 14 to 16 hours a day, and that's people need to understand that that's what it is. I mean, this is the actual reality of being in this world. Let's just say. So, share a bit about. I'd like to hear your opinion about this. What we've been sharing, these thoughts. Tell us a bit.
Because about which particular.
No, the part of pushing forward and now, the sacrifices that people need to commit sometimes. How was for you, for example, those sacrifices within, this journey of yours?
So I'll tell you from my experience, the most important thing was the fact that I have a wife, a partner,
Sure.
who looks out for me, who encourages me. Every day there are things that can make you feel down, and can, just having somebody who cares about you, encourages you, and supports you is so valuable. And I feel like it's such a force multiplier to have a partner who loves you, to have that encouragement and support. So I really, again, so it's not just like a social familial aspect, but it made me a better business person. It made me better in every aspect. So it's like a very good business recommendation. Having,
Really.
not being alone is actually makes you a much more resilient and relentless and
Sure.
powerful person. It's been my experience. So yeah, that allowed me just to keep going and persist.
Amazing. Amazing. So, Yitzi, what could you share, to the audience more today that you like to share? From your own thoughts, your vision. What is current society today? What do you think should change, and what are your thoughts to make that happen? Those changes to happen, for example.
There's one thought that struck me is that there was just there was an election in America, and we have new presidents, and some people are very happy, some people are not happy, some people are very nervous, some people are terrified, and you just read the way people are sharing on Facebook and Twitter that some people are just so angry, and they're really fearful. And I think that see, we're not evolved. We have not been evolved to deal with the entire planet's problems. At any given point, there's going to be problems on the planet. That's for sure. But what we could do is we could deal with issues on our block, on our community, in our neighborhood. The point is that the more our main world is the online world, the more it's a world of perpetual fires, both proverbial and literal. And it's constant chaos and strife and fighting. But the more our main world is our physical world, is our block. Look outside,
Yeah.
you look outside, the sun is shining, people are walking out and they're happy, and the birds tweeting. My point is that the world seems so scary, but if your main world is a digital world, yeah, it's very scary. But it doesn't have to be. I mean, the actual real world outside, and for most of us, is really great. It's really good. So my point is that yeah, we'll be a lot. The less online we are, the less
Yeah.
the digital planet is our main world, the more present and serene and mindful we could be, and more we'll grow as people. The more we'll improve our relationships. That's my suggestion for what's going on now. Is that the world's scary if Twitter is your main world, if Instagram is your
Yeah.
main
Yeah.
world.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of influence in media, and most of it is paid, right? Because most of the information, it's not even news. I mean, if people actually check most of the links that are published in many of social media, and they rely those news with several news centers, for example, and they see that news didn't appear anywhere, it doesn't exist. So this is just an example. I mean,
Yeah,
you need to just be on common sense when you watch media and when you watch TV. In the end, it's all about common sense. I mean, nothing is really outstanding as it is. Sometimes we see a stunning in news, but in the end, you go to many. I always say compare it to many news centers to see if that news is actually exists or it's exactly like that. Because if you see just in one place, it doesn't mean anything. When it's something dramatic, for example, you should use your common sense because when it's too dramatic, most of the times will not be real. And that's all I always say to people. Otherwise, of course, I totally resonate with you. The world should be talking to people, should be influencing people how to achieve better things, how to create a better version of themselves, and to have a better communication with the nature. People forget about this. I mean, nature is very important in our lives, for us to find serenity and to find tranquility and peace. I mean, you won't find it without nature. You actually feel, in your gut feeling, when you're not connecting with nature, that is something missing. And this is very important in life to achieve that balance. That's I always say to people. Many things are important in life. You just need to prioritize what is actually important for each person. Each person has his own priorities, his own criteria, his own tastes or opinions. But in the end, the root, I think it's the majority still the same for everyone, which is, that connection with nature is needed. Um, so, communication between people within the society, um, and have, influence. Having that that circle, as I always say, circle within people to share the idea, opinions, and to have conversations. Because I think since COVID, most people live in digital world. And this, I think it became a big difference, since before COVID and after COVID, people still continue that same routine. Most of the things are still done digitally. People don't communicate, personally anymore. And I found that very dramatic because that's very important. People should meet and should, talk physically, person to person, because there's many things you cannot transmit on remote, or even to share on remote is not it's not the same. I mean, it is not. I mean, we all done a lot of meetings, to people, and we both know this. I mean, many of the things you want to share, even the way we talk, most of it has to be person to person. I mean, on remote, yes, I mean, you share some of it, maybe 80%, but not 100%. It's not possible to share on remote 100% of everything. It's just virtual. It is not really real. And this is what, I think is a setback within society and values. I mean, what do you think about that? The way people are still doing things in these days.
Yeah, I know it's a big debate and a big question. I know from my own experience that that having remote contractors or remote employees, it's you have to be very skilled. You have to know how to do it right. You have to be very skilled and be a remote manager in order to get the same productivity. So maybe there are those who could do it great, but I think that it's a certain skill set that you have to be trained in, and if you don't have that skill set, I think productivity will fall off being remote. It's just the nature, human nature of you know of you know when we're, yeah, the human nature is that we're used to being productive when we're together, and we're used to
Yeah.
being more accountable when our bosses will be checking on us. But so I think, yeah, we need to develop a very particular set of skills to be a remote manager.
No, of course, and I totally resonate with you on that. It's not only the skills, but also there are many things that you see in the office that you don't see on remote. For example, you are the colleague. You could say, "Let's grab a cup of coffee," and talk about this next subject. In your case, let's talk about this interview. So, if you do it on remote, you have to do over the phone. Obviously, it's not the same circumstances, not the same situation, and people need to understand it. I mean, there are factors that many people are looking at as being more optimized. I don't see if it's really optimized unless you're talking about financially. But I mean, I think there's a lot of setbacks with actually work on remote, because not seeing people and not seeing presentially is not the same as when they are on remote. Because If you see them, you have a better interaction with the team, especially if you have a team of directors. You can see them, you talk with them. Sometimes you just go by their desk and say something. If they are remote, you make a phone call, you don't see them, you might do a video call, but in the end, we're talking about the same subject. It's they're still not present. So I totally resonate with you. They need to have really this skill set, but also it's much more than that because their presence is missing. So it's not the same, and especially I was interacting with the media and news world, some time ago, and when you are, for example, in the printing process, if you have some people from the printing process that are just giving orders on remote, I mean, there's sometimes late changes on the final minute, and that creates setbacks and delays. I mean, this is just an example, and there are many that still think that working on remote is very optimistic and very optimized for the whole process. I guess I have to take it as a matter of opinion. I mean, in the end, each one has his own opinion. I'm just sharing mine. You shared yours. I think it's not entirely correct because you're removing the environment. You're removing the labs, because if you are the colleagues, sometimes in the stressful moment, someone sends a joke and we all start laughing and we continue to work. If you are on remote, this not happen. So that situation, that creation of good environment, that the environment within people doesn't exist. So that I think is creating more loneliness in people, separating the people to have less touch, and with this, many other things. It creates solitude. It creates many other feelings in the people that in the end isolates them. And it's wrong. It shouldn't be isolated. It should be in the unity and talking with other fellow people. Because that's how you share things. That's how you put them out. That's how everyone communicates with each other, and thus creating a good environment within teams and inside companies. That was to say, yeah. So, Yitzi, so we've been almost 50 minutes. Amazing. What would you like to share more, or what do you like to share or say, to the people that would listen to this episode? So, would you have something more to share or say? Please go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, I was thinking, should I talk from a business perspective or from a social perspective?
Any perspective, whatever you like to share. Yeah.
This one is one thing that I've been thinking about, and I've spoken about this in another podcast. But I think that it's been a buzzword to talk about vulnerability and authenticity, and how that allows people to trust you and connect with you. I think there's another aspect of that, another nuance that isn't amplified. It isn't emphasized. Emphasizes me. And that is the idea of humility. Humility really means to just get over the impression that I'm not the best in something. I'm not the lord over you. Things don't have to go my way. I think humility doesn't mean to think that you're humiliated. Humility means to just realize that I'm not better. I'm not better than you. I'm not your boss. And I think that in a world when people are so incentivized to self-promote themselves and make themselves famous and measure their success by the amount of followers they have, I think that we're de-emphasizing the value of humility. And I think humility in so many ways can help build better relationships, help us connect with people more, help people trust us more.
Yeah.
Can avoid conflicts. can make us less sensitive. And really, we can think of probably a dozen ways that humility will improve ourselves and our society. So I just want to put that out there, that in a world when people are being rewarded by being the loudest voice and the biggest grandstander and getting the most attention by doing attention grabbing, headline grabbing shenanigans, humility is like a counterforce to that will be better people and happier people in a happier, healthier society if we focus and emphasize the virtue of humility, of being a humble person.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. And also, by that, you have the ability of creating better communications and truthful communication with people and relation with people. I think people shouldn't think as they need to show they are better or worse. In the end, it's about I do something, you do something, and we share thoughts. That's the way of creating a truthful communication and truthful relationship. It doesn't matter if it's personal or professional. In the end, the root of that, it's all created by the same way and same process, right? So, and yes, I mean that part I totally resonate with you. It's missing. I think society in these days are missing the humility of being out there and be humble. I mean, it's a root. I think everyone should have it because if it was like this, for sure there wouldn't be so many conflicts, so many diverse, extreme ideas out there in society. Uh, so many fighting most of the times because I mean I don't believe in that. I believe that everything should be done with dialogue all the time. But of course, if there's no humility and both people want to prove who else is strong, so there's no result in there. There's not even a dialogue, because that's I always say. I mean, you cannot put people sometimes in power that have the ability only to listen to themselves and to do whatever they want everyone to do and according to what they say. I mean, it's impossible to work like that. If you don't share, humility in everything you do, in the end, you also lose respect from people because you are trying to sometimes overcome people. People feel disrespected also because they think that you are trying to overpass them, overcome them, and yes, I mean, I think it's a core value within society just to continue your resonation on these thoughts. So we'll leave it there. I think let's let the people think. I think it's something for sure. I think in common sense it should exist in society, and definitely will help every single one of people out there if they actually use this skill and value inside their own daily basis. They will see that their life will improve and their relations will improve. I'll just leave it there for sure. Yeah. So, Yitzi, it was a real pleasure to have you here. Honestly, I mean, we've been talking for some time to do this show, and it was really a pleasure to have you here and to share your thoughts and your journey. Absolutely, I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Julio, thank you so much for your great questions and your great presence, and I look forward to talking to you again in the near future.
Thank you so much for today. Goodbye for now. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.